On the bottom of page 50, 14.5, Uva Arba'ah, and on 4, again with the 4 and the 10 separated out. This is a Tlisha Ktana. Tlisha Ktana always comes at the end of the word rather than at the beginning of the word, and rather than on the accented syllable. If the accented syllable is different, there'll be 2 of them. This is a forward-looking note. This is a connecting note, not a separating note, which separates it from a Tlisha Gdola, which comes at the beginning of the word, looks backwards, has a pause after it, is a separating note, and again, if there's a different accented syllable, there'll be 2 of them. So that's why the note's there at the end, and there's only 1 of them, because that's the accented syllable, and it's moving forward. Number 1.
What's talush? Or is there a betet? What's mitzlosh? Isn't that separate? What is
to pull off?
What?
Attach.
No, I always get back to the names of the notes.
Yeah.
So tlisha, what did you say tlisha? Just redo it. Does that fit in with the name?
So there's 2 different klishot. There's
Right.
a Tlisha Gdola,
Right.
which is something that is in fact separated,
A big separation.
separated, and Tlisha Ktana is a connecting note.
That doesn't go with the word talush though. That's what you know what I mean?
So it's a little bit more of a separation from the sentence before, because it's pushing forward.
Oh.
But in the context of the sentence that it's in, it's connecting. But in the context of the sentence before, it's separating. Too much to do.
Wait, this tlisha, what is this one?
This is katana, because it's at the end of the word.
But isn't the actual shape of the note, isn't it different for tlisha?
So the big circle,
yeah,
is at the end.
Right.
So that's the major part of the note, is looking forward, is connected to what's going to go after.
What does Tlisha Gdola look like? The same
Tlisha Gdola is the same note, but the circle is on the other side. It's looking back at what happened from before, it's attached to that, it's pausing. And this one is telling you, I'm going forward and there's a little bit of a pause before me. So it's a little bit separated from, if you want to use talush, that it's picked off. This one is picked off from the last pasuk, and the little arrow is pointing at the last pasuk. And the Tlisha Gdola is the opposite direction, and it's separated from the sentence that it's in. It's picked off from that.
And together they make a karnei parah. Isn't a karnei parah basically the 2 tlishas, right?
And that one is separated from both what comes from before and what comes after, and it's going to stand by itself.
You're talking about what? Karnei parah?
Mm-hmm.
There's one in the
both of
Torah?
them.
There's one?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it again? Do you know?
It's talking about the tchum that's given to the Levi.
Well, that makes sense with tlisha because they are separated from. These names are important, believe me.
Hiya.
Sorry, we're just in the middle of shiur. Can I call you back? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So again,
Sorry.
page 50 at the bottom, 14.5, number 1, and on 4 with the Tlisha Ktana. The constantly increasing pressure by Hammurabi's rule also affected nations of other regions. They became restless and organized a revolt against the foreign tyranny. By the example of the Stone Alliance, and on 4 last years, they made intensive preparations to come out in an open resistance, as indicated by the shape and placement of the reading mark. And again, this is, I don't think something that we find in any other parish that there were other forces involved other than these 4 and these 5 and Avram who comes with him.
Say that again?
He's saying that they are gathering forces, not only the 4 kings, but others who feel that Nimrod's rule was too difficult for them.
So the 5 there's more people on the 5 side, you're saying, that are joining in.
So they're saying they're taking 4 years to gather other
14.
people to 4.
Oh, the Arba.
The last 4 years, they're gathering other people into their alliance as well. The coalition of the willing. Esrei, following 10, with the Pashta. This is a note that will emphasize the word and pause ever so slightly afterwards. The idea of an armed insurrection continued for 10 years of reluctance and hope for improvements, but when it resulted in disappointment, an active confrontation became a measure of last choice, as shown by the directional shape of the reading mark. I'm sorry, this is a Kadma V'Azla. This is
I'm lost. What were you reading? What, 4?
Number
No,
2.
2.
Pasuk-
Following 10, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
The idea of an armed that one?
Yes.
yes.
But you said Hammurabi before. That was.
So he's calling Kedar LaOmer both Nimrod and Hammurabi. He's given
But
him 4
Hammurabi's
names.
already in 4. Was Hammurabi mentioned already? Wait, where did you?
So
Pasuk
when we
1.
go back to Pasuk 1, we go to 14:1, we're going to see that
Note 3.
that Amraphel is possibly Cush, possibly Nimrod, possibly Hammurabi, and by the way has this name Amraphel.
But when you said Hammurabi, were you reading from his parish? Hammurabi's on the top of 51.
Okay, so if you look at Pasuk 1 of this parak, Rafel, if you look at the note under 3, go to page 45, bottom left. Page 45,
Wait a minute.
bottom left.
45.
45.
Yeah.
Bottom left.
Hammurabi, right.
Okay, so Amraphel is
Oh,
known
that's
by
when you
4
said Hammurabi.
Right, so Amraphel is known by potentially 4 different people that we know. Hammurabi, Nimrod, Cush, who's also mentioned, and then Amraphel is the name that he's known by here.
Okay, I didn't know. Oh, because Hammurabi is coming up again in his parish. It says at the
Right.
top of page 51. That's why I couldn't understand because we hadn't gotten there yet. So I heard you say Hammurabi. Because we went back to that page when I asked the background.
The good doctor has a lot of references to archaeology, and he tries to tie this in to something that you might be able to find archaeologically, and I think he's trying to draw that connection by using the name Hammurabi rather than using the name Nimrod.
But in the Code of Hammurabi, does it mention these 4 and 5 kings or no?
Well, that's a codex of laws. It's not a
Yeah.
codex. It's
Yeah,
not history.
It's not
It's not
history, but I
history.
thought, okay. So Amraphel could be Hammurabi, Nimrod, Cush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we will continue.
Some guy named Rapid.
Shana with the Azla for the joining note to the Kadma, so this closes the phrase and has a pause afterwards. Number 3, it was a result of the fact that each consecutive year brought more restrictions, greater difficulties emerged, and no improvement was on the horizon, as stressed by the closing shape of the directional reading mark.
I just want to say one thing. You shouldn't drink to me. You're driving.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
No, okay. I know, but I'm maybe I'll walk. I don't know if I should stress it. Okay. You know your own limit, right? Good. You don't want God forbid die on your father's birthday. Although it's easy to remember yours birthday. Okay.
Not a useful comment.
If I can save a life, yes, it is.
Each year brings more determination, and we seem to say that on each anniversary the restrictions became harder, and each year the resolve to revolt became harder, and the resolve gets stronger and stronger and stronger with the close of each year, hence the pause after the Azla. Ba with a munach, so this is a note that has a sharp pause from what had come from before and emerges into a new reality afterwards. Came, number 4, as soon as the news of a revolutionary uprising reached Hammurabi, he designated a military force headed by a resolute commander who came to restore order, suppress the revolt without consideration, and prevent any recurrence of similar outbreaks, as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. The reading mark says he saw that the revolt came, said that this isn't going to be what's going to continue, it's going to be different after this, hence we have the sharp demarcation here. Number 5, Kedar LaOmer with a Rivi'i. This is a note that has breadth to it. and has a pause afterwards. Kedar Laomer, who was the chief military commander, had personally directed the punitive expedition, and he tried to eradicate the revolting forces by all means, as suggested by the broad meaning of the reading mark. So Kedar Laomer now gets to fill up and take control of the whole situation because of the breadth of the Revi'i.
And the 14.
V'hamlachim, with a pashta, so this focuses, gives emphasis to the word. Number 6, and the kings, in order to enforce the military strength of the campaign, Hammurabi dispatched more forces, and the kings who shared the rule of his government, as expressed by the directional shape of the reading mark. So these are the ones who are going to go forward, go out to war. Asher, with a munach, so this again is separated from what's come from before and moves forward afterwards. He was confident that his associates would be most reliable and act according to his directives in their own interests, as specified by the shape of the reading mark. So despite the fact that they are going, he knew that they would act according to their own will. He also knew that their will would align with his will eventually. So what they wanted was what was going to go forward, but he knew intuitively that what they wanted was what he wanted as well. Ito, with him, with the two-part katon. Number 8. They were entrusted with unlimited power because together with him, they were defending a common purpose, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So again, they were given some free rein and they were able to do what they wanted, but he also knew that they would ultimately do what he wanted as well. So their will and his will was aligned.
Yeah. Well, they're all on the same side. Those are the 4 kings, right?
What he's saying is in their own self-interest, they would undertake certain activities which in the end would line up with his sort of grand strategy. So he didn't micromanage. He said, go do what you need to do, because he knew that in the end result would be in line with what he wants anyways. Do I understand that correctly?
Vayaku, with the mapach. A mapach is a note that gathers something from before and puts it into a more sharper focus. And they crushed. Number 9, with a conjoined military force, they proceeded rapidly and they crushed participants of the revolution, destroying their plans along with their human and material resources, as illustrated by the shape of the related reading mark. So,
is this where the word coup comes from? C-O-U-P? Military coup. Coup by a coup.
No, I understand.
If you didn't, you would laugh.
I'm thinking. Oh,
come on, joking, obviously.
Okay,
maybe?
Sometimes there is, but no. In any case, what he did is he took what they were before and made it much less going forward. So he narrowed it down, if you will. Et Riphaim. Notice there's no ha, that's not the. It's Et Riphaim, with Riphaim. Number 10, with Pashta. Focuses attention on the word and moves forward from there. A decisive blow was delivered by Hammurabi's armies upon first contact with the Riphaim, who were known as giants of enormous strength, courage, and efficient military training, as conveyed by the directional shape of the reading mark.
Wait, are these Riphaim, are they part of the 5, or are they added on to the 5?
These are part of the 5.
From the beginning, or you said that they've got other people on their side?
So
when they mentioned them back in 45.
They're not mentioned.
They're not mentioned as the 4 per se.
Not the 4, the 5.
As the 5 per se, I should say.
But we said that other people joined their side.
This is, I think, where he's positing that others joined. The question is, are these just sort of various groups within the 5, or are these separate entities? And he's posited that they're separate entities. So the Riphaim we see later in the reports of the spies. V'sham ra'inu et Riphaim b'nei anak Riphaim.
Are these also connected to back in Croatia with the B'nai Elohim and the girls? That whole thing. There's also Nephilim there.
That's a different.
There were also giants there.
But if you
wasn't
think about it,
But
so-
definitely by the
but if you
Barometer.
think about it from a military perspective,
Yeah.
right? You've got the 4 versus the 5, that's fine. The 5 were able to co-opt other groups. If one of these other groups that they got were big giants who were military men who were very
Before
smart,
they get the giants,
if
five
the,
did.
if the 5 were able to co-opt the giants
Right.
to their side
Right.
as add-ons to rebel against the 4,
Four, right.
and Hammurabi's army said in their wisdom, let's attack these guys, because if we attack these guys
They were trying.
and we defeat them,
Then
everybody else is
gonna
going to be
vote, right.
demoralized,
Right.
because the best of the best,
Right.
who first of all, so those who were among the not among the 5 are going to fade away, because it's not technically their fight, and the best of the best were wiped out. It's going to destroy the morale for the soldiers that are left. It's a very smart move if you think about it.
On Nimrod's side?
Yeah, on Nimrod's side, on Hammurabi's side.
But it wasn't Rephaim alone? Weren't they together with the 5?
Beseder, but maybe he,
He managed to
This
get
is
the
what
5
they do.
and the
This
Rephaim.
is what he did first.
divide and
So we're
conquer.
going in the order of battle. The first ones he attacked were these guys.
And he
And
destroyed them, he
where?
crushed them.
The Ashtarot, on Ashtaroth, and we're going to define that term. The tactic of that battle was displayed on Ashtaroth in forms of surrounding and isolation, breaking them up in small groups like flocks of sheep, Ashtaroth, as demonstrated by the shape of the reading mark.
Wait, isn't
So-
Ashtoreth also the female goddess? Or is that her?
I'm sorry?
The female goddess. Like part of the Avodah Zarah, isn't that Ashtoreth? Who's Ashtoreth? Wasn't that her one of them?
Ashera. But
Was that Shera? Okay, I thought I moved it somewhere else.
Of Ishtar, yeah, but there's something like that.
I don't know about Easter, but
Maybe it's at that same location. Maybe that's where they would worship him, her.
Sunny Karnaim, we were talking about the two Plishat, the Karnei Bara, and then all of the word Karnaim comes up.
Okay, so nonetheless, the place defines the tactic. The tactic is to take a large army, divide it into small groups, and defeat each small group, and thus eventually overwhelm the army. Karnaim, number 12, with the 2-part katon. Various groups were dealt with.
Sorry, 12.
Number 12. After that, the rebels were surrounded and cornered by concentrations in the topographic layout of Karnaim, and successively horns, and successively destroyed, as depicted by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So he's going to basically again get each group, put them into a place that is less and less defensible, and get rid of small group, hence eventually defeating a large army.
I mean,
When he's saying Ashtoreth, I missed that comment before. The Ashtoreth is like groups of 10 or something, right? Like
So literally like flocks who are herded. I think that's he's saying like a flock of sheep. So he's
but also
herding.
they counted them
he's
like
count-
10, didn't they? Like
Well, I mean, he doesn't specifically say.
no,
say
we know
10.
that from the
But-
time it took up or something. They go every 10th, wasn't it? The 10th when they went under the right. So it is from 10.
So-
Esther, the word Esther is in there.
So it's not when you're picking out Maser,
Right.
Asiri, Asher
Right.
Yavor Tachar Hashav,
Right,
the
okay.
10th one who goes under.
So it
the-
is from the word 10, even though it's tough in there. But
Mhm.
okay, you see the word Esther in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough, possibly.
Okay.
And that's like sheep are your herd of sheep is what's yours after you've taken out the 10th one and made it Kodesh.
Right, but I'm saying that's where he gets the thing that Ashtoreth means groups.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And the word
He said
10 is
flock
definitely in there, but
Mhm.
we're not necessarily saying that these are groups of 10.
No, I didn't literally
Yeah.
use the 10, but in the same way that you divide sheep into groups of 10,
Yeah.
he's divided in smaller. Yeah.
Viet Hazuzim.
So what do you say about Karnaim now? I forgot about what
So
you
we
said.
said Karnaim is the tactic is to make them into small groups and then attack that small group from various directions.
See what he said? Look how he's cornered in quotation marks there. He's saying that the English word cornered comes from Karnaim. It's C-R-N,
Mhm.
No, don't roll your eyes. No, he's saying
I'm not
it.
rolling.
It's your father.
I understand.
You see how he has cornered in quotation marks?
I see.
And he has Karnaim in quotation marks.
Yes.
K, R, and N. It's yeah, okay.
I was going to point out that the pincer movement of armies is still current today. Like World War II, look at all those maps. It's all but two pincers that cut off a piece, deal with that piece, move on. Right? It's just they keep interweaving each other and making pincer movements. It's a similar tactic.
Carnage, maybe the word carnage. I don't know. Carnage. It's also cooperation and Karen and unicorn.
Cornua in
A horn.
Okay, well, we got it from corn. It's from Karen. Okay. Unicorn. The whole Karanor, that whole mess with
Okay.
And with the Zuzim, number 13, with the Tipcha, so backwards looking small paws after it, various groups were dealt with accordingly, and with the Zuzim, Kedar LaOmer handled by a different tactic, because they were quick in action and versatile. Zuzim, in changing styles of warfare, exactly, the ones that moved, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So these were, so because they're separated out and singled out, why they mentioned, because he needed to use another tactic in order to defeat them.
Have we heard of the Zuzim before, or is this the first time?
We have not.
By the way,
read the NB that follows.
Yeah.
Read the NB.
Zuzim is only a certain characteristic of this specific type of rebels, mobile ones who zaz, who move. Aside from this place in the text, Zuzim are not mentioned anywhere in the Bible, Tanakh, not as a tribe nor as a nation.
There's your
So these are just the guys who are fast.
I just want to mention that when people want to change the wording of the siddur or something, it's obviously every word is carefully. So with the bracha likvoa mezuzah, they're opposites, keva, likvoa, and zaz. Something that would ordinarily zaz, you want to make kavua. It's the lashon I'm saying. Likvoa mezuzah. Of all the words to use, likvoa, you have the two opposites there, keva and zaz.
Beham on Ham, number 14, with the stabilizing at
Is that a place?
Figured out. Number 14, they were defeated by psychological warfare within themselves on their own territory. On Ham, as signified by the stabilizing shape of the mark and by the meaning Beham Bahem. So, in the place called Ham, but he defeated them by attacking what was Bahem, inside them. So he used psychological warfare in order to defeat the ones who were moving around too quickly.
I heard it was green.
But isn't it from Mehumah, like in Tehom and all that? I hear those words also.
But he's saying within themselves, so I think Bahem is
but
more
like stirring them up, or what, turning them against each other, or like what do you mean by Bahem? Well, as I'm saying, it is related to Mehumah and Tehom.
The next one
And alternatively, Baham. It may also be possible that this indicates a specific tactic of Kedar LaOmer to instigate a civil fight amongst themselves. Again, Baham. At the same time, causing panic, confusion, and disorganization. Baham, Bahamam, and Mehumah.
Great minds think alike. Very good. Okay, I know I'm on the right track. Don't think I read it ahead and I'm just being smart. Okay. Interesting.
Pause the tape for a second. I'm trying